You want to care for your loved ones, but there are several family members involved. This makes it difficult. You're in a situation where everyone is arguing about how best to care for mom or dad. And perhaps you've got a few siblings, maybe an aunt or uncle involved. And for one thing, it's not productive to argue. It stresses out mom or dad. And you don't really communicate well. It's best to start before the problem becomes a problem. Hi, my name is Katharina Bertena, and today we're going to talk about how to manage family dynamics when you're planning for your family's future. Number one, plan ahead. Sometimes people feel uncomfortable planning for the future of someone elderly, but it's not a death sentence. It's simply the smart approach, because if someone starts to decline very quickly, you want to have a plan in order. You want to be organized. The best thing to do is beforehand check out your options. Do your loved ones want to stay home? Do they want to go to an assisted living facility? Do they want to go into a life care facility? And what are their finances? Can they afford it? Do they have long-term care insurance? These are questions you need to have answered before there's any kind of decline, be it mental or physical. You need to determine costs and your options that are available for mom and dad. Is it a situation where Medicare can help? Right now, there is a huge push from the Home Care Association of America to add home care to the Medicare plan, because it's been shown in review after review that help at home, home care, in-home hospital has reduced the readmission rate seriously. It has cut it so dramatically. So it might be something that if you hear politically about it, you can say, yes, adding home care to Medicare is a good thing. And at the same time, if and when that manifests, you will have a lot more freedom to have extended home care in your home if you are not in a position to pay for it at this time. Number two, organize the finances. You have to decide who's going to be in charge of the finances in your family on your parents' or loved ones' behalf. You need to sort that out before mom or dad are incapacitated, and hopefully gain access to those finances when perhaps they're declining, still mentally fit, but don't need the extra added burden of dealing with figuring out finances for their own care. So the best case scenario would be to have a family member in charge with access to the finances of that person, so that you can pay the bills or make arrangements ahead of time, put a deposit down on whatever it is you may need, and hopefully it makes the transition that much smoother. Number three, choose your best point of contact. What that means basically is, as I said before, figure out who's going to be in charge of the finances. It would be optimal if the executor of healthcare decisions could be the same person as the executor of the estate or the financial director, if you will, the person in charge of finances, because that way, if there is a situation where this kind of care is needed immediately and they do need some sort of transfer of funds for it, you want to make sure that the person who's in the know about the health situation can get access to the finances, to the money, to ensure that everything goes as smoothly as possible. A lot of people choose the family member in closest proximity to the loved one. If that person has the time and energy and is going to make the best decisions for mom or dad, then by all means. Sometimes that person that's close that needs to make the decisions, be it about a schedule or which medical procedures should be taken advantage of, sometimes that person might not be the best one to make those choices. Sometimes that person doesn't have access to the finances. So you have to make sure there's clear communication if there's more than one person involved. Also, if you're working with a home care agency, a skilled nursing facility, or even if mom or dad's in the hospital, or your spouse, whatever it might be, make sure that each facility has one point of contact. Because if you get 3 different siblings calling the same facility, giving different directions, there's chaos, everything comes to a standstill, and it's not a great situation. So make sure you really focus on one person to be the point of contact with everything. Number 4, keep your loved ones happy. I know that when I get to that point, say I'm on hospice, the one thing I want is unlimited barbecued potato chips and dip. And I really would be unhappy as I'm in my final days if somebody said, no, you can't. It's bad, you'll put on too much weight, or whatever the situation might be. As I said, personal belief, but I've seen so many people unfortunately transition and pass away, and they really wanted something, and the doctor or the family said, oh no, that's not healthy. And to me that's just sad because they died missing something. My dad is just the opposite. He's very health conscious. And I think that's helped him to be so healthy at 91 years of age. He's very tall, very thin, always has been, but he'll have a lean cuisine for lunch. He watches his oil intake and everything else. But I think when he gets to the point where he's declining or in decline, I know he's still going to want his red wine. And I'm fine with that. I know that sounds, maybe not the brightest medical advice, but if he's near end of days, I'm not going to tell him, no, you can't have something. I mean, he's French and Italian, so it's in his blood. I'm not going to say you can't have a glass of wine. I just think that would be mean. Number 5, discuss the end. Something you've got to do is make sure that if there are pets in the home, that someone's going to be able to transition the pet to their home and hopefully not a shelter. Make sure that if your family members are in the hospital, that someone's taking care of the animals, feeding them, cleaning their tray or litter box, whatever it might be, or having someone walk the dog. It's not awful to talk about what do they want for their end of life. A lot of people, who are religious would like, say, a Catholic mass, and they would like to be buried at a Catholic cemetery. Or perhaps they want to be cremated and put in a mausoleum halfway around the world. Whatever their wishes are, it's very respectful to find out, if they haven't voiced it before, how they want to be remembered. Personally, again, coming from a French and Italian family, I really want to have a celebration of life. I want there to be lots of good Italian food. I want the wine flowing, and hopefully there are some positive stories about my lifetime. And, maybe some people will remember my quirks, but definitely that's what I want. A celebration of life, cremate me, and then do what you will with the ashes. Doesn't matter. Because as far as I'm concerned, I'm not in those ashes anymore. But find out what your loved ones want. then they don't have to bring it up, and they don't have to feel like, oh, my husband or my daughter's going to think that there's something wrong, when you really just want to plan ahead. If you'd like to learn more about how we can help, go to colonialhomecareservices.com. Thank you.